suffice. Everything no already built by IBM. The only thing that we need to do customization. That's all. Everything, every component, all it is already developed by IBM. Yeah, I will show. I will show my project. Okay. 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 You could have. Yeah. Where did you come in Hyderabad exactly? Okay. 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 I play.
Hi guys, good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, Pradeep.
One moment, I'm just connecting my Bluetooth. Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if you guys are able to see my screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Awesome. Just open the list of. So today we have to talk about the inventory part of it. So day before yesterday we have spoken a little and we just kept it aside. So today we will talk about the inventory part of it, and we will also start discussing on the task queue and non-task queue agents or transactions, whatever it is.
Okay,
Okay.
bro. Yeah.
So yeah. So whenever we are talking about inventory, maybe I'll just start fresh on the inventory part because that day it was like in hurry burry we have closed the inventory part. So whenever we are talking something about inventory, so what is meant by inventory? The first thing we should get is nothing but like stock. You have some go down and like you will be putting all your stock in the inventory. Sorry, stock in the go down or stock in the warehouse. In our case, we call it as warehouse as we discussed earlier. So whatever the stock you are having in the warehouse is called as inventory. So, like for example, you have like 100 warehouses all over India, and you have to have inventory picture of all the warehouses what is present within India or what is present across the globe, so that whenever an order comes into order management system or Sterling order management system, we have to identify which is the best possible ship node for processing this particular order. So that is the reason we should have the inventory picture for all the ship nodes. So in order to have the inventory picture for all the ship notes, how can we have it? For example, I have 100 ship notes, okay, and I have 1000 items, okay. So I have 100 ship notes and 1000 items. So we have to do, or we have to load all the inventory picture of these 1000 items, which means that each item can have inventory in all 100 notes, which will be 1000 multiplied by 100, which will be almost like 1 lakh adjustments you have to do. And this is a very small number. Having 1000 items is very, very small. We have seen for a customer where they have 30, 40 thousands of items. And even I have worked on a project where they have 1100 warehouses across the globe. So this particular permutations, combinations we have to do before we are loading the inventory. So how to make it easy? So right now you can see we need to have at least 1 lakh adjustments in order to load all the inventory pictures. So in order to make it easy, we have okay, before we go there, how customer will have his information. Like, okay, I understand that Sterling Order Management needs all this information in order to process the order. But first of all, customers should have all this information in their system. I mean, whenever they are, what do you call that, manufacturing the product, they should also have the count on how many they are manufacturing and how many they are sending to each warehouse. So in every project wherever you are working, there will be one customer inventory management system. So basically, they might have or they will have a inventory management system already within their what you call that group of servers or group of systems whichever they are managing. So this particular information is already present in the customer inventory management system, and that inventory picture has to come to Sterling Order Management System. In order to have all this information into Sterling Order Management System, we have couple of methods like what you call how to load all the inventory into our Sterling Order Management System. There are a couple of methods. First method is adjust inventory. So when we talk about adjust inventory, like we already had a small discussion on adjust inventory. So adjust inventory is an API which helps in adjusting the sorry, which helps in adjustment of inventory in any warehouse wherever you want for a specific supply type. Okay. So what is meant by supply type? Supply type, we can have multiple supply types. One is on hand, one is held, one is in transit. What else we can have? Purchase order, and we have many more. I'll show you guys like what all the supply types we have. So these are the major, like I can say the major things which we use is mostly these three. Okay. So what is meant by on hand? On hand is something which you have physically available in the warehouse. I mean, I have 10 quantity in the warehouse. That means I am ready to fulfill your order with this 10 quantity. Those are on hand. and held is nothing but which are damaged or which cannot be used for fulfilling anyone's order are called as held. In transit. In transit is nothing but whichever is on the way to warehouse. Okay. So basically you might have heard of this word transit. Transit is nothing but on the way. Like for example, you are going to any other state or country in an aeroplane. So many flights are not direct flights. You have to have some transit in between. Like for example, if you're going to US, you will have a transit in Dubai for some 5 hours or 10 hours. So that is nothing but like you're on the way to US. So in transit is nothing but it is on the way to warehouse, and we will have an ETA for this. ETA is nothing but estimated time of arrival.
Like pre-orders have this in transit inventory, right? Like
Sorry?
there is a concept of pre-order, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yes. Pre-order is an in-transit inventory. Why we will have pre-order as in-transit inventory means, for example, I have a pre-order for new Apple iPhone 16. Okay. So what happens from today only, like what you call, people started placing orders. So whenever people started placing orders, but the launch of the iPhone is on, like let us assume February 15th. So as of now, I don't have the inventory because the phone has not yet launched. The phone will be present in the warehouse from February 15th. So by then, every warehouse should get the information on how much quantity they will get. So what happens in our system, we will increase. Like for example, ship node 1, ship node 2, ship node 3. We have something like this. So in ship node 1, I want 100 quantity to be loaded. In ship node 2, I want 150. In ship node 3, I want a 200. So there should be some information sent already to the Sterling order management system, so that based on this information only we will accept the orders. So how this information can be given? There should be some inventory or adjust inventory done so that Sterling will understand the inventory picture. We cannot have on hand or held, because on hand is something which is already in the warehouse, but here it is not in the warehouse. Held is something which is present in the warehouse but it is not useful. So that is the reason why we will use something called as in transit with an ETA as February 15th. So that what happens, this means that on February 15th we will get 100 quantity to ship node 1. So that is where you will have it as in transit inventory, which can be used for the future orders. I mean, whichever the order we can fulfill in the future after this particular estimated time of arrival. So that is the reason why you will have in transit for pre-orders. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, for me.
Yeah. So there is one more thing. We have something called as purchase order. Purchase order is nothing but like every now and then, whenever the manufacturer is manufacturing, he will place a purchase order just to increase the inventory in the warehouse. Or else sometimes it will be like the number of quantity in a specific warehouse is reduced for some item, then that particular warehouse people can raise an order to the manufacturer in order to have the inventory. So purchase order is nothing but it's an inbound shipment. We have already seen this. Inbound shipment is nothing but anything which is coming into the warehouse is called as inbound. So these are the different kinds of supply. So what is the adjust inventory talking about? Adjust inventory updates inventory data for a specific supply type. the inventory data changes are specified for a ship node. So basically what they are telling, whenever you want to adjust the inventory for a specific ship node and for a specific supply type, you can use adjust inventory API and you can adjust the inventory. And what is the input they have? So this is the input they have, this small input. And in this, we want certain attributes. So that is where we have created this particular XML. And here I want only, like let us assume only one item. I want to increase the quantity for test Jan 3 item. And for example, for one of the product, I am giving the estimated time of arrival as yesterday, which means that it has already reached the warehouse. And let us assume for one of the warehouse, for the same item, I'll give the estimated time of arrival as maybe let me give March 1st. Sorry, March 1st. Okay, so I'll give the warehouse 2. So now what happens for this particular item, 200 quantity, we are increasing in matrix warehouse 1 with supply type on hand. And for the same item, we are adjusting in warehouse 2 but with a different estimated time of arrival, and we will also have supply type as, let us assume, in transit. So with this particular adjust inventory XML, we can invoke the adjust inventory API. Running model.
Did you give credentials?
Sorry, no, I have not even invoked, no?
Without credentials, it won't work, right?
No, I have not even loaded the page.
Okay.
It's directly going to second. Close and start my server once again. But yeah, as you mentioned, right, whenever we don't give credentials also, it give an error, but it is 403. 403 is something related to access. Error 403. Yeah, forbidden. 404 is our, what we call our server itself is not running, something like that. Yeah, now my server is running. And Pawan, you were mentioning that without even deployment it is working, right? So
Yes.
there are chances that yesterday, like I was discussing with one of our senior folks. So what they are telling, right? Whenever you are doing a deployment, okay, what is happening automatically as part of our script, okay, if you see our development thing, right, you
Yeah.
can see automatically it is putting the new EAR file in the same folder.
Yes.
So whenever it is putting the what you call the EAR file in the same folder, it is just renaming that, I mean like replacing the existing one with the same name.
Yes.
So there are chances that, not chances, but what they are telling, right? it can be something like the WebLogic is automatically picking the latest jar.
Okay, got it.
Maybe just by some restart also it may work, is what they were mentioning.
Okay,
And as part of the script also, right? As part of the script also, uh, how to say? I mean, like we can rename the ER file. I guess somewhere
no,
here.
it will delete old one and it will create
Or
new
it
one. That
will
one.
automatically it will delete old one and create new one. But if
Yes,
you
yes, yes.
want, you can rename is what I feel. But I don't remember doing it in the recent times. But yeah, as part of the script also you can play with it. Yeah, so we will be doing the test inventory. Right, and this will be my so let me okay, I remember now. I have deleted the entire hard disk table, but one second, guys. I have to take a call. Yeah, sorry, guys. So let me write a simple query. Select star from IFS inventory supply where inventory item PN item item. Yes. So what is my item ID? My item ID is testjan03. So mm, okay. So as of now, you can see like I have not yet adjusted the inventory yet. So for this particular test Jan 03, we don't see any inventory. So let me adjust the inventory. Let us run this query once again. So we can see here that for test Jan 03, what do you call that? For matrix warehouse 2, it is taking the estimated time of arrival as, what has happened? Is it something ulta? I've given 0202 only, right? For warehouse 1, why is it taking 0101? This is good. Let me give it as one second, guys, there is small confusion. Yes, for the changes in on hand, we cannot have it here, which is maybe that is the reason. Yes, ETA. Okay, you can see here, right? That's what I just got out. So whenever the supply type is on hand, ETA is not required because estimated time of arrival is something which is
Required
basically for
future
all
like
other supplier for future. Basically, whichever is coming in future, for that we will have the estimated time of arrival. But which is already present in our warehouse, we don't need the estimated time of arrival. Now it makes sense. Yeah, just got confused. So if you see, I have in transit which is on March 1st. I'm getting the inventory for 200 quantity into Matrix Warehouse 2, and for another 200 quantity I have got already on hand for Matrix Warehouse 1. So likewise, they can send hundreds and thousands of XMLs into our Sterling order management system so that we can adjust the inventory into Sterling order management system. And in order to send all this information, they can have an JMS queue and an asynchronous service which will consume, right? So it is going to be the same concept whatever we have did for create order or manage item, all those things. So any doubts on this, guys, before we go to one more method of adjust inventory?
no from my end.
Okay.
No,
So
Pradeep.
there is something else called as inventory synchronization. So you guys might have heard this word in Sterling Order Management System earlier as well. There is a concept called as inventory synchronization, which is basically used to sync the inventory between Sterling Order Management System and the customer inventory management system. So, for example, I have the same example. Let us assume I have ship node 100 quantity, and this is all on hand. Let us assume. Okay, so we have ship node 100, ship node 2 150, ship node 3 200. So, for example, after 4 5 days, after 1 week, customer see that in ship node 1, in ship node 1, they sold some 20 quantity. We have only 80 now. In ship node 2, we have sold 100. We have only 50. In ship node 3, we have sold 180 and we have only 20. So this is like, let us assume on Jan 1st, we have the inventory picture like this. On Feb 1st, we have something like this. So after seeing this inventory picture, customer feels like in ship node 3, the quantity is going down. So what customer can do? He can increase the inventory for that particular ship node. So again, he will add some 200 more or something like that for ship node 3. So when they add this particular 200 more for ship node 3 in their management system, that is in their inventory management system, and likewise they will do for n number of ship nodes, then they will run a process called as inventory synchronization. Inventory synchronization. So whenever they are running this particular process of inventory synchronization, there will be many XMLs which comes to Sterling, and there is a process done in Sterling called as inventory synchronization. With that process also, the inventory can be increased or reduced according to the customer need. And that inventory synchronization is a very big concept which we are going to talk maybe after 2-3 days. Okay, so that is like one more part of inventory related things. So before we jump into the task queue and non-task queue, I have one more thing left over in the inventory management system. That is uh, inventory considerations we call. So I'll just show you. We just spoke about supply type, right? So what are all the different supply types we have, and how to create a supply type, and what do you call that, how to consider a supply type for a demand type. Okay, before we jump into the configuration part, there is whatever we have seen here is called as supply type. Likewise, there is something called as demand type. Okay, what is demand type? For example, supply type you have on hand, held, in transit, purchase order, everything. Demand type is nothing but the demand which is raised whenever we are creating an order. So you created an order. So order is nothing but it's a demand. Order is nothing but something which customer is demanding us in order to fulfill their need. So that is called as demand. And as part of demand type also, we will have many demand types. Like for example, created, sorry, created, scheduled demand, or released demand. So basically, these are all the different processes of an order. So likewise, we will have n number of demand types. So let us see those. So all those information will be present as part of our global inventory visibility. So anything related to inventory, we can see here. And here you can see something called as inventory types and considerations. And under inventory types, you have something called as supply type, demand type, and consideration. So here if you go, first thing we should understand is inventory supply type. Like you can see here, I have on hand, I have in transit, I have planned purchase, planned transfer, okay, held I have purchase order placed, back ordered, released, everything. So like I'll explain one simple example about purchase order. Okay. So today what has happened, one of the warehouse, let us assume ship node 1. Okay, they see that their item inventory is going down. I mean, like for item 1 they have 100 quantity, and people started placing huge number of orders, and that 100 has gone to 5 quantity. So now what the ship node 1 people should do, they should create an purchase order to the customer or purchase order to the manufacturer. So they have created an purchase order. So the minute they create an purchase order, it will create a supply type called as PO placed. So what happens? It, for example, they created a purchase order for 50 quantity. So it will create a record in YFS inventory supply, okay, with the ship node as ship node 1 and supply type as PO placed, okay, and quantity as 50. So something like this, it will create a record in YFS inventory supply. So once the PO is placed, you will have this particular inventory, and once that particular order, whatever the purchase order created, if it is released or if it is scheduled, then that particular inventory will update to PO scheduled, and the same inventory, whenever they are releasing, the order gets released, it will get updated to PO released. And once that particular order is fulfilled, it will go to PO, and once that particular order reaches our warehouse, that means the quantity has reached our warehouse. At that time, it will move to on hand. So basically, these are all the different types of supply types. So whenever you are placing an purchase order, there should be different stages of purchase order. For example, first thing is you have raised the order. It is PO placed. So once the PO is placed, it should be scheduled. Scheduled is nothing but when you will get and from which area you will get and all. Once it is released, there will be some PO released. And once it is in transit, once it is on the way to your warehouse, then you can have in transit. Once it reaches your warehouse, then you will have on hand. So likewise, you can create n number of supply types. If I want to create one more supply type, I can create some supply types, whatever I want. And whether the costing is required on hand, is it on hand supply or is it not an on hand supply? So on hand, so if you see here in this entire like 10 or 12 supply types, whatever I have, only two supply types are on hand. What is that? One is on hand and the second one is held. So only these two supply types means that they are present in the warehouse. So whenever you are creating any supply type as on hand supply, that means that it is an what we call inventory physically available in warehouse. And whatever the other supply types, right, it is just for reference. What is for reference? Purchase order you have placed is for reference. Purchase order got released, scheduled. All those are just for reference. Even in transit, whatever we have spoken just some time ago, that is also just for reference. As of now or until February 15th, we don't have this inventory in the warehouse. That is just a reference number, right? So all the other supply types are called as reference, and only one which is having in on hand can be considered for placing the or fulfilling the order. So that's why for that particular on hand inventory we will mention costing required. Any doubts on the supply type?
Pradeep, one more thing. There is a concept of dirty node, right? What does it mean actually?
Okay, dirty node is something like, for example, you have 10 ship nodes. Okay, like, or else let us take these three ship nodes only. So, for example, in this particular ship node, 200 are quantity are available and it has become zero. So, in these kind of scenarios, you can mark the ship node 3 as a dirty node so that no orders will be processed to that particular dirty node. This is one way of defining a dirty node, or else you still have inventory in this particular warehouse. Like let us assume initially I had 200, now I had only 100. But there is something called as capacity planning in Sterling Order Management System, but that particular capacity planning, not many people are using it. But capacity planning is something uh, per day how many orders can be processed by any ship node. Okay, like for example, I have ship node 3. Initially, I had 200 quantity. but according to capacity planning, I can process only 100 orders for that particular ship node 3. So once that particular capacity plan, once that particular ship node reaches its quantity to 100, that means that my capacity is full. So basically, capacity planning we do based on the volume of the warehouse. If the warehouse is very small, and if you have people, like for example, 10 people working in the warehouse to pack your orders and all stuff, right? So then the capacity of that particular warehouse is very small, because if you are taking more orders, you cannot process all the orders in one single day. So for a particular day, there will be something called as a ship node capacity, and only that particular quantity of orders will be taken into the warehouse. So once that particular capacity is fulfilled, at that time also we mark the ship node as dirty node. So whenever you mark the ship node as dirty node, you will not have the you will not have the orders processed for that particular ship node. Did that make sense, Pawan?
Yes, yes, got it now.
I guess there is, one second, I'll just try to show capacity, inventory capacity, where is it? Location. Not this one. Excuse me. There is some table. I have worked on it long ago. Maybe this resource pool capacity is only I'm thinking. The resource pool capacity. I guess this is the table stores resource pool capacity for each date or shift combination. Resource pool or corner appointments. Yeah, these are the tables like which are responsible for that particular capacity, and we do have some capacity somewhere is somewhere here. I'll try to find that capacity console here. Yeah.
Sure.
So like we can configure more. Like we can configure whatever the capacity you want and all. Maybe I'll try to show you a small example. Like I just include that here. Okay. I'll also show you guys how that dirty node can be marked and all. Okay. I'll show you guys. So yeah, anything on this inventory supply types, whatever we have discussed. Okay, that's great. And similarly, there will be something called as a demand types. Demand type is nothing but like you can have forecast. Forecast demand is that something which we have not yet got it. It's just something like the pre-order. So the order is processed on February 15th, but the demand is raised some 10 days before or 15 days before. So that is something called as forecast. And open order is nothing but the order is just created. And once the order is scheduled, you'll have scheduled demand. Once the order is released, you will have allocated demand. If the order is not able to be processed, then you will have back order demand. So these kind of demand types we will have. Now, for example, somebody has placed an order called as open order. Whenever somebody places an order, we should try to fulfill that particular order. So, which all supply type we can consider for open order demand? That configuration is done in inventory consideration. So, whenever somebody places an order, that is called as open order demand. For that particular open order demand, which all the supply types we are considering, you can select those supply types here. That means that for open order, we can consider firm plan supply type, and we can also consider in transit supply type. We can also consider for on hand supply type. The same way purchase order placed, release scheduled. All these supply types can be considered to fulfill the order which is having a demand type of open order. Likewise, for different demand types, we have different supply types, and we can select which supply type can be used for which demand type in order to fulfill the order. Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I had on the inventory part. But slowly we will see more. Like for example, as part of our inventory synchronization and RTAM, we will see some more part of the inventory. And during scheduling and releasing, also we will see how the supply type and demand type changes. So those things we will slowly understand. But we just kept it after this task queue and non-task queue, because first of all we should understand what is an agent and what is task queue, what is non-task queue, before we go to schedule release concept. Okay, because even schedule and release are also using the agents to process. So that is the reason why we have kept this agent concept a little ahead. So I hope like we are good with these two things, the item and inventory things. Is that clear, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
Pradeep.
well,
Okay. So on task queue and non-task queue transactions, let us have a brief, and I would definitely need one full session on this because it is very important. I may even take two sessions on it because we have to create one custom task queue and custom non-task queue, both the things. Like I mean, we will have uh, what you call that some Java code written. We need some configurations to be done. So we may need more time on this task queue and non-task queue. So we have so far we have seen one type of agent server that is called as integration agent server. Right. There is one other type of server industrially that is called as agent server. And within agent servers also, we have two different types of agent servers or transactions. We can call anything. We have something called as task queue based transaction or agent. And one other we have is non-task queue based agent or transaction. So what is meant by an agent? First of all, we should understand what is meant by an agent. Agent is a small Java program which keeps on running in order to process something. Okay. For example, you have an order which is in created status. Okay. The next status of the order is scheduled, as we discussed some 2-3 days ago, right? Whenever the order is in created status, it will move to scheduled. Right, from created it will move to scheduled, and from scheduled it is moving to released, and from there it will move to sent to node. Likewise, an order will be moving to different statuses. In order to process an order from one state to other state, there should be some people or something which is responsible to move the order from one status to other status. So here we can have one agent server which will keep on running throughout the day and which will choose the orders which are what we call eligible to process. It will pick those orders and it will process, and it will drop the order to the next status. If you guys remember, already we have discussed something about transactions. So whatever we have here is called as transaction. So if you remember, like let us go to our pipeline. So here you can see we have something called as create order, and the order is in created status. Once you go to the scheduled transaction, the order will move to scheduled status. So here this particular transaction is called as an agent. In order to process the order from created status to scheduled status, this particular agent is responsible. And likewise, we can have n number of agents in order to process the order from one status to the final status of the order. That is from created to shipped, or created to return created, return received, or whatever the final status we have. We can have n number of transactions or n number of agent servers. So now what is the difference between a task queue based and what is difference between a task queue based and non-task queue based? Let us see. So once the order is in created status, how will the next transaction, I mean, like once this particular transaction completes its job, it has to hand over the job to the next transaction. So how is that being done? In order to inform to the next transaction, there should be some communication between those two transactions. So we have some table called as YFS task queue. Okay. So there is a table called as YFS task queue table. Whenever the first transaction is completing its job, it will insert a record into this table. What does it will do? It will insert a record with the order header key and the name of next transaction. Okay, so it is something like I'm done with my job, and the next person to work on this particular order is so and so transaction. This particular, the first transaction whichever is processing, it will insert a record into some table called as YFS task queue table, and the next transaction will see that record and it will understand, okay, I have some job to be done, so I have to pick that particular process and I have to process the order. So likewise, once this particular transaction completes its job, again it will insert one more record into the YFS task queue table and it will hand over to the next job, that is next transaction, that is a release. And once that particular release is completed, it will give to consolidate to shipment, or it will give to what do you call that, uh, include order in shipment, or it can be any kind of an transaction. It all depends upon this pipeline only. Like for example, here you can see whatever is coming out of release, if some consolidation is required, it is going here. If consolidation is not required, it is going to here. So based on that, system will understand which will be the next transaction, and it will create a record in YFS task queue table, and it will insert a record with the specific order header key and the name of next transaction. Likewise, they will complete the order process from created till shipped status. So any transaction or any agent which is processing their job based on YFS task queue table, it is called as a task queue based transaction or agent. Is that clear?
Yes, Pradeep.
Yes, Pradeep.
Okay. So likewise, we have one more thing called as non-task based agent or transaction. What is meant by this non-task based? Any other transaction which is processing something and it is not dependent on tasking is called as a non-task based. I'll give a simple example. For example, you are in a shop, or else like I can say you are a shop owner. Okay, you have got an order. Let us assume you have got an order for 10 items, like for example, like 1 kg sugar, 1 kg dal, one biscuit packet, one chocolate, whatever it is. You have got a list of items to be delivered or list of items to be packed. Okay, it's a small grocery store where you have only two people working. So one person will be packing, or else like one person will be weighing the products, and one person will be packing the products. So what is happening? Whenever the 10 items list has come, the owner is reading one by one, and one person is pouring the dal into cover, sugar into cover, and all. And the other person is tying or else like packing that particular covers. How this process is happening? The first thing is the owner, it will go to the person who is weighing, and it will go to somebody who is packing. So basically, in order to fulfill that particular 10 items, it has to go through this process. So this is an example of task queue based transaction. What is happening? Once owner is reading, the next person job is whoever is weighing. Once the weighing is done, what he will do? He will push the cover to the person who is packing. And once this particular packing is completed, that means order is fulfilled. Right. So this is what a task-based transaction is. Now coming to non-task-based transaction. Non-task-based transaction, it is an independent transaction which doesn't have any flow at all. Like for example, end of the day, there will be somebody named as accountant. Okay, in the shop, that particular accountant has nothing to do with the inventory or with packing orders, weighing the uh, products, nothing. All he has to do is, end of the day, he has to see how many orders are processed for today, and he has to settle the counter. So what is he doing? First of all, he should get what are all the orders processed. That means that whatever the job he has to do, he himself is identifying the job. What is his job? He has to take the bills. For example, today there are 100 orders which we have billed. So he has to take the 100 bills, and he has to take the cash from the counter. He has to do the tally between both of them, and he has to enter everything into the system. So first thing is getting the jobs. Next thing is executing the jobs. What is meant by getting the jobs? Nothing but collecting all the bills. Executing the job is nothing but counting the total and tallying it with the amount in the amount in the counter, amount sorry, amount in the cash counter. Right. So here, this particular accountant is an independent worker. who has no relation with or who has no dependency on any other people who is working in that particular grocery store. This particular person's job is an example for non-task queue based transaction. Whereas here it's a flow and one person's job is dependent on other person, it is called as a task queue. So whenever you see any task queue based transaction, you will not have getting the jobs. Getting the jobs is not having. That doesn't mean that they are not getting the jobs, but they are getting the jobs from task queue table itself. And what is execution? Execution will be different for each transaction. For owner, it's a different execution. For weighing person, it's a different execution. For packing, it is a different execution. So getting the jobs is common. What are they doing? They are going to task queue table and they are seeing what are all the transactions or what are all the not what are all the records which are present on their name. They will go and get it. So getting the jobs is straight away. They just go to task queue table and see if there is any pending job on their name. If there is nothing, they will sit idle. Whereas here, getting the jobs is different to the different process. Okay, is that clear? I hope this example made more clear.
Yes, Pradeep.
Guys, if you are not understanding, I can repeat it. Any interview you go, any project you go, they will ask what is task queue, what is not task queue. There is no interview without having this question. There is no project without using a transaction. So this is very, very important. That is the reason why I am trying to give example. I want you guys to talk. Noor, Abhishek, how about you guys?
Yes, Pradeep, I'm clear.
Oh, awesome. So, what is happening? Like it is as simple as like the task queue based transaction uh, is nothing but whenever the get jobs is being brought from task queue table, execute job it can have its own execution. Whereas non-task queue is nothing but get jobs also they are getting on their own, execute jobs also they are doing on their own. Like for example, let us go and check YFS task queue table. So let's start from YFS task queue. I'm just running this table. Here you can see there are different transactions. Okay, and there are different data keys. Data key is nothing but order header key. Okay, so for this particular order header key, this particular transaction has to process. For this particular order header key, this transaction. For this particular order. So likewise, any order which has to be processed next, it will be based on this particular task queue table. And for non-task queue, there is no table, nothing. During processing only, they have to go and get the job and they have to process it. So maybe on Monday, we will see more detail on this, how exactly a task queue can be created, internally how it works. There is a lot of concept hidden in the agents. So we are going to talk about all of them on Monday. And on Tuesday, maybe we will see how to write a task queue, how to write a non-task queue. Okay. And you guys also can implement that in your local. Any doubts, guys, so far? Like, that's all I had for the day.
Pradeep, we have hundreds of orders in created status. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to pick them and move to schedule. So in that
Yes.
case, which agent is like responsible?
Responsible. It is
Yeah.
schedule agent. It is schedule agent. Like, for example, let us do one thing. Okay, I will create an order right away. Okay, so I'm creating an order. I'm giving order number as, let us assume 101. This is not our order example. This one. So I'm creating an order. So the minute I create an order, we know that order will be in created status, right? So once we create the order, let us take the order header key, go to IFS task table, where we can give data key is equal to that order header key, and you can run it. You can see scheduled transaction is responsible. Actually, you might get a doubt. What is the other transaction? This is something which I have written, like some customizations here. If you see, after created, I am going to some transaction, and from there I'm going to schedule. So I'll show you one second. So let's just start from IFS transaction, where transaction key is equal to, I'm just showing this. So sorry. You can see this is created EX. So basically this one only, created EX, whatever I have created. But ideally speaking, the other record should not be there in your project, because you don't have this extra thing now. I have what we call customized it. So ideally what should happen after created, it is a scheduled transaction job to process it. So once create order is done, you can see it is creating a record in YFS task queue table, and it is mentioning the transaction key as scheduled. So that this particular scheduled transaction has to pick this record and process the order from created status to scheduled status. Okay. And likewise, once that particular order is moved from scheduled to released, I mean, for example, scheduled job is completing its work. So it will remove this record, it will create one more record with the transaction key as a release, data key as order header. And the next job will be release order job, something like that. So it will be like once the job is completed, it will remove it. It will create a new record and all. Okay.
Okay.
I'll show you guys. Like, don't worry. I will what we call process an order. We will see how the order is moving to schedule, released, everything. We will see the entire order flow. Yeah. By the time we complete our all the sessions, right? You should be able to see everything.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything from Noor or Abhishek? Any doubts?
No, Pradeep.
Okay. Some guys, yeah. That's all I had for the day. We'll connect back on Monday.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure,
Thank you,
Pradeep.
guys. Thank you, guys.